everyone, and welcome to another episode of Court to Court with the Esquire Coach. Today, we have a very exciting episode for you as we have Dr. William Hill, the creator and visionary of the new social networking platform or social networking ecosystem, Athlete Forever, joining us today. Dr. Hill is a former University of Virginia four-year letterman on the University of Virginia's football team and the 2012 season captain. He is also a former member of the 2013 Indianapolis Colts rookie minicamp and NFL free agent. Dr. Hill holds a master's of public health from UVA and is a graduate of Howard University School of Medicine, HU.
You
At,
know,
After graduating from medical school, Dr. Hill headed to the West Coast where he completed his orthopedic surgical residency training at the world-renowned University of Southern California and Los Angeles General Medical Center. As an orthopedic surgeon, um, Dr. Hill helps his patients return to and live their desired lifestyles. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Hill created and developed Athlete Forever, an athlete-centered ecosystem that includes all professional services that supports athletes from recruit to the retiree phase of life. Hello and welcome, Dr. William Hill.
thank you,
So,
Cassandra.
so could you start by just telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Of course, thank you for that great introduction. And I'm originally from Williamsburg, Virginia, born and raised. And
757.
yeah. And there learned a lot about life and values and really what made me and who I am today. And you know, the whirlwind of my young life so far, you summed it up a lot. But at this juncture in my life, I'm currently finishing up my sports medicine orthopedic surgery fellowship. And then I'll be going back to Virginia, the Hampton Roads area, to join a practice and be the director of their sports medicine program. But really, my focus and my calling, um, and what I'm chosen to do, I believe, on this earth is to help everyone. But I have a special passion and mission to help athletes during their career and post-career, and not only in their physical health and performance, but in mental health as well as just general life success. I want everyone to be able to live their championship caliber life and to live life to its fullest. And so that's what I really am called to do. And part of that is through being an orthopedic surgeon with sports specialization. But part of that is through being a mentor, a coach, a startup entrepreneur, a friend, you name it. And so I'm focused on bettering all people that I interact with, and making sure that they have an opportunity to maximize their life.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. I've always been interested in how you have strived to like merge your love of sports, love of football, along with being a sports medicine doctor. So, as a former college football player, there are a lot of things going on in college sports right now. We have NIL, we have the impending house settlement and things. So, I would just like to just hear some of your perspective on the changes that have taken place in college athletics since you wore your UVA football jersey.
Of course, as I talk to colleagues and um, experts in college athletics, I consistently say this is the most exciting time in college athletics for a number of reasons. One, change is exciting. If and if you have to embrace it and be a part of it, or you can't affect change in the way that you want. So it's a time where a lot of people can leave their mark on college athletics and sports. Also, it's really allowing for the athlete to be at the center of sport, which I think is important, because previously if you want, even in the professional, well, specifically in the college ranks, they were really just a piece in the college sports industrial complex. And when they were done, they would plug and play the next player. They still, it's still a cyclical process where yes, the next player will be up when a player's times out or graduates. But at this point in time, athletes really can steer their own course and benefit from their name, image, and likeness. And when it comes to a name, image, and likeness, I think there is a great opportunity for all parties involved to help the athletes. I do think that we are falling short in this process and in this exciting time because I believe the NIL is just at the tip of the iceberg of what we should be doing. I'm a firm believer that we have an opportunity to help these children and young adults to be successful for life. And the NIL can equip and start that investment. But if we don't give them a framework, proper professionals, and proper resources to sustain that financial prosperity that they have earned, then we're doing them a disservice and maybe even harm because if they run out of that money or it's spent, then we're really in a really bad place because then it starts to affect other parts of their life. And so I think it's an exciting time. I think that there needs to be some level of framework or regulations around it, and it would be great to have a centralized body that helps oversee some of these changes. Because I know the NCAA at this point has really um, taken a step back in how much they want to be involved. But I think it's an exciting time. I'm happy to be a part of athletics on this side during this point in time and not actually in it because I feel like being someone that was a former athlete before NIL, before the transfer portal, before the JUCO changes, and now being on the other side, I have some insight and some perspective, but I'm also young enough to be able to touch and relate to see how it can be beneficial, but also to help put up guardrails to keep it in a way that benefits all parties.
Thank you for that answer. You touched on a lot of things that you and I talked about before. Just start with keeping the athlete front and center within college sports, and that NIL has created an opportunity to make more of the conversation be about the athlete and the opportunities that they have. And you also said something like about the NCAA taking a step back. And I guess in some ways they somewhat have, but really we know what the NCAA is waiting for, right? They're waiting for Congress to act, and they're really waiting for Congress to give them an antitrust exemption. And this leads to a question that I wanted to ask you regarding Congress acting and the issues that members of Congress want to see a potential congressional bill governing college athletics see and one address. And one of those issues is the health and safety and health and wellness of the athletes. So I wanted to ask you, as a former football player and a medical professional, what are your thoughts on a potential congressional bill addressing health and safety, and what would you like to see in it from that perspective?
I think this is of utmost importance, and I actually want to take a step back before I move forward. Uh, we know that the the term or slogan of student athlete was really crafted by the NCAA when a case was brought by injured players to get compensated because of injuries because of the work that they were doing
Not just
on
injuries,
behalf.
death. It was a death of a football player,
Yeah,
and his wife was
yes,
trying to get workman compensation benefits. So not just injury, death, and they coined the term to evade having to pay those workman's compensation benefits.
correct. And so that in and of itself shows that student athlete it's just so coincidental that the term was birthed out of health and player safety issue. And so I think less than maybe 5% of the public and experts know that that's where that term is coined from. But I think we need to really champion that story so people really know that someone's life was actually lost to make that term. And it not necessarily a cover up, but that term cost someone their life, essentially. And so the health and player safety of our athletes that are college athletes are utmost importance because I think a bill needs to be done in Congress to help protect these college athletes. As I talk to, some of my colleagues, friends, I say that the college athlete is one of the most vulnerable populations. Um, they give their all to universities, they give their bodies, and after they're done, there is no player, there is no player association where they can get health benefits for life, um, or where they can get their medical paid for, um, and so it's an issue that needs to be addressed, and it's one that's in utmost importance because it's not talked about. But these athletes, some of them end their careers because of career-ending injuries. They are medically retired, and so yes, they get their degree, they move on, but those injuries most of the time they have lifelong effects. UCLA did a study, former college athletes, and I think it was primarily football and basketball players, have a 4 to 5 time rate of total joint replacements in their lifetime compared to their contemporaries in the same demographic. The study that I'm looking to potentially do additional work into is looking at life expectancy of college athletes versus their contemporaries, because there are inherent risks of playing sports, not only today, but that effect may be long lasting, secondary to other things, not just injuries they occur, but potentially some of the mental health challenges they may face as well after they are done playing. And so I think the bill needs to be done. I think it protects not only the athletes, but I think it protects the institutions that they play for and are part of. Um, and it protects the future of sport. Athletes are, sports are, it's injury prone, but we don't want to get to a day in time where no one wants to play sports because they don't feel that they will be taken care of appropriately, or that the organizations or institutions that they are affiliated with really value them as humans. Because yes, they're athletes and they're athletes forever, but they're also humans first and foremost. And we need to take care of the human aspect of the athlete. An athlete is part warrior, but also part human. And so they give their body, they give their time, they sacrifice, they blood, sweat, and tears, but they're still human at the end of the day. And this just humanizes the athlete, and it's an utmost important to get this done. I know that was a long response, but I'm very passionate about this.
Definitely, no. The response was fine because it's a complex issue, right? With a lot of factors and things to consider. But you're absolutely right that the health and safety and wellness of the athlete while in school and after is of utmost importance and should be a high priority as we address issues in college athletics. So just kind of one more question about the current state of college athletics. You know, everybody's talking about the House settlement and the impending changes from that if the settlement is approved in April. So I just wanted one of your thoughts on the potential for college athletics to switch to a revenue sharing model.
Well, I think there has to be equity because as of right now, it's pay to play, and whoever's the highest bidder will most likely win.
It's funny that you mentioned equity when we just had the new administration rescind the Title IX guidance, which was trying to create equity, you know, for at least equity along gender lines. So I just wanted to bring that up as you gave your answer.
Uh, of course, and I think it has to be among gender, but also among schools. You know, you can't have top the top 20% having essentially payrolls of 150 million, and then you have these other schools in Division One. I'm speaking on Division One, essentially have 5 million or 10 million. It's just not equitable, and it's not a level playing field. And obviously, we've already seen this take place from the realignment standpoint. People are realigning with their pockets and their dollar amounts to gain more power. And we also see this in the college football playoff selection. Um, the big, as I will call them, because they're not the Big Ten anymore. Um, them in the SEC, they have more voting power than the other conferences. That's because they have more money, more influence and power. But is that fair? And is that equitable for the student athletes, the other 130 plus teams that are competing? And so, I think it definitely needs to have guidelines and some type of cap for each school and also equity for the genders as well. And that leads me to another topic of discussion. Some of the HBCUs are leading the fight and leading the charge and getting flag football, women's flag football as official sports. And I think that needs to be approved by the NCAA as a women's sport for all divisions.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the NCAA's decision is on that, and I hope it is to add it as a sport. So now I think we're going to switch gears a little bit to talk about your new platform, Athlete Forever. So if you could just take this moment now to tell us what Athlete Forever is.
Of course. So Athlete Forever is a ecosystem slash social media platform that was developed to help athletes of tomorrow, present, and of yesteryear. And so it's to help them in all walks of life, in every phase of their athletic career, from recruit and youth sports to college to professional and post competing life. And so, Athlete Forever, the athletes at the center of the ecosystem, and all the uh, professionals that support them during career and post career, are also part of the ecosystem. These professionals include sports attorneys like yourself, sports agents, sports medicine physicians, nutritionists, dietitians, mental health professionals, religious and spiritual counselors, university representatives to help help the athletes decide if they want to go back for graduate or professional degrees or to pick a school based on the degrees they offer, which is not really talked about in these recruiting visits and when the students are being recruited. And so they may pick a place for the school, I mean, for the sport, but they don't have the degree that they want to go into. And then also employers, because athletes don't have college athletes and professional athletes really don't have the time or opportunity to do internships and to explore career paths outside of their competing sport. So employers will be a part of the platform to give the student athletes an opportunity to explore different career paths, internships, and to hire athletes. As we know, 90+% of female Fortune 500 CEOs were former college or professional athletes, and the values and the attributes that athletes bring to the boardroom or to an office space um, cannot be replaced and are invaluable. And so, Athlete Forever is is really the only platform that the athlete is centric in, and it's for all athletes, all different sports. And I'm really excited about what we built and what we're continuing to build uh, to allow for athletes to live their championship caliber life. And we truly are athletes, life success partner, or life success teammate.
So let's break it down a little bit more. So, you have athlete forever and it's from recruit to retiree. So what would be like the goal of athlete forever when assisting a recruit, when, maybe somebody who's in high school looking to go to college, or maybe assisting somebody who's in the transfer portal. Um, and then we can move on to how it's going to assist somebody who's currently in college and, graduating. So just kind of break it down for how it's beneficial for the athlete at each stage of their career.
Of course. So at the recruit stage, it's of utmost importance. Um, One, most of the time at that stage, your school or you personally, your family, they don't necessarily have all the resources to have a complete team of professionals around you. And so get connecting with a nutritionist or dietitian to get your nutritional plan in place, to vet certain supplements you may be interested in. So that's one aspect. Also, if you are starting to generate some NIL interest, connecting with a sports agent or a sports attorney to help guide you through some of that process that is probably new and foreign to you is very important. Also, to connect with peers, outside of the competing space, to see how they're doing, and also um, as you continue to plan for peak performance, you may want to connect with a performance or a mental health professional to make sure that you're staying on the top of your game, your mind game part of the game, as well as you may want to touch base with university representatives to see if they do offer um, the career paths or majors that you're interested in, and then also it's an opportunity to form relationships with professional, college, or post-competing athletes that may serve as your mentor and want to help guide you through the process so you can be as successful as possible. So it's multifaceted and it's so many benefits. We're so excited and happy that we can do this for the athletes.
And on the flip side of that, maybe you can break down just how it's beneficial for the professional service providers.
Of course. So if you're in any of those sectors, your main clientele that you want to service and help are athletes. Yes, at some point in time, you may have, members of the general public that aren't in the sports space or aren't athletes. But most of the time, those professionals, they want to hone in and only work with athletes. And so this is an opportunity for you to connect with and specifically work with athletes, and then it's you have at your access to connect with them, but also to connect with other professionals to help build out your team and to maximize your your business and to maximize how much you can help other people and other athletes. And so it's a win-win being a part of it and supporting the athletes because it also supports what you're trying to do professionally as well.
So, how can people join this athlete forever?
So you can follow us on Instagram and see what we're posting and keep up with what we're doing at We Are Athletes Forever. Um, and if you want to join the community, which we invite and hope you will, it's at weareathletesforever.com. It's a web-based app. You can access it on any uh, technological device that has the internet. You don't have to download it from an app store. It's free to join, and you can start connecting and sharing and engaging other members of the platform.
All right, thank you. I will be sure to include the website link for Athlete Forever in the show notes. So we're at the end here, so I'll just give you an opportunity to say say something that you want to say about Athlete Forever or about college sports or sports medicine or what have you.
Well, I want to say thank you for having me, Cassandra. It's always a pleasure when we have an opportunity to uh, converse and discuss different topics. Um, but in regards to the sports medicine space and careers in sports medicine, I think there's a place for everyone. It's a great profession. You get to help athletes of all levels and all activity levels. And you really see the the evidence of your hard work and your patient's recovery and getting back to activities they enjoy, which is fulfilling and gratifying. And it's awesome. And in regards to Athlete Forever, we're building something special, and it's by athletes for athletes. And we have you all's best interests in mind, and we want you all to be successful, not only in your sport and how long you play that sport, but in life. And that transition, whenever it may be, we want you set up for success long term. And I think that's the most important thing because 99% of athletes will eventually transition from sport to another career. And I don't think that that's highlighted enough. It should be highlighted at the front of the recruiting process and not when sport stops. And it's like now you have to react instead of saying I was proactive. I have these things in place. I connected with these people. I did this internship. I'm prepared for life after competing in sport. And so I think Athlete Forever is a great teammate in athlete's life to be successful. And then also I want to talk about we're also having a joining podcast now called the Transition Podcast: Trials, Tribulations, and Triumphs of Athletes. Because all we hear about is the success stories of athletes, current and former, but no one highlights the stories of those that go forgotten or go in the dark because they aren't successful. They aren't the Hall of Famer. They aren't, the all-star. But those are the majority of athletes. And those stories need to be told because we can learn from them. And they need to be highlighted as well. And so that's something that we're actively working on, and that will launch March March 2nd is our first podcast coming out, and I'm excited about our guest. Both of them are former NFL players, um, and they'll highlight their journey. Um, and I know it'll be a real treat and treasure for the recruits, the current athletes, and the former athletes. We really want to really empower athletes to be successful in life, and even if they have trials or tribulations along the way, know that they have a community that's backing them and are rooting for them, and that they can reach out to. Um, and It's a lot going on, and we're excited about it. And again, I thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me break the news of your podcast. I'm excited to listen to it and catch your first episode. So, just again tell everybody where they can find your podcast and tell them where they can connect with you.
Well, we're launching, our digital footprint in the coming days, but it'll be it, so just follow Athlete Forever on Instagram, and it'll link you to our page. But it'll be the Transition Podcast, and so we're looking forward to it.
Well, thank you. Thank you again for joining us. And this concludes our episode of Court to Court with the Esquire Coach.